The anime story begins by discussing how the end of the world will happen in an unexpected and fantastical way. This began 4 years ago with a doctor named Skins, whose intelligence was comparable to Einstein's. Skins invented a painkiller called Habna, which became popular in the market due to its low cost and lack of side effects. It became the talk of the world, liberating people from various kinds of suffering, and was described as the savior drug for humanity. However, within 3 years, Skins suddenly disappeared, and no one knew where he was. Habna turned out to be a huge trap set for the world. We shift to Northport Prison, where an inmate named Axel is situated. A woman named Hasho comes to visit him, while her assistant waits outside in the car, listening to music. The guard goes to Axel, informs him he has a visitor, and Axel is working out. After that, Axel approaches Hasho. He asks, "Remind me, who are you?" Hasho tells him it's their first time meeting face to face. Axel responds, "No one has visited me unless they were my lawyer or an assassin." Hasho says, "Consider me both," and introduces herself. She tells him she wants something from him, and if he answers her question, she will get him out of this prison, leaving Axel surprised. He asks, "Do you know how long my sentence is in here?" She replies, 888 years, meaning life. She informs him that she knows everything about him, where he was born, his professional and medical records, and even his shoe size. Axel says he's pleased and asks what she wants. Hasho asks Axel if he knows Habna. He confirms that the issue is well known, even inside the prison. She asks if he knows about the crime that occurred and shows him a video clip on her phone. This clip, just a few minutes long, went viral and is about Dr. Skins, who has been missing for 3 years. In the video, Dr. Skins broadcasts that if people don't feel pain, it equals death. He also tells them humanity is on the brink of annihilation because of Habna, and humanity now relies heavily on it, focusing on gaining significant benefits in a short time, leading to a never-ending conflict among themselves and ongoing environmental destruction, resulting in the destruction and death of many. As a doctor and scientist, he reached a useful conclusion that this is the reality of humanity and that the human race must face severe punishment. He states that he didn't develop Habna to be just a painkiller, but rather to stay in the body for 3 years and then mutate, causing death. It's impossible to expel it from the body. He insists he doesn't want their lives to be in his hands, but he plays the role of the seventh trumpet, nothing more. He predicts the first victims will fall within 30 days and that he has a cure for this, but someone among them needs to find it before the 30 days are up to save humanity. The decision is in their hands. Skins' words lead to public unrest in the streets, and students don't want to continue their education. Hasho tells Axel that Skins sought peace and equality. Axel asks, "So, has he become a devil upon his return?" After that, the guard comes to Axel and informs him that visiting time is over. Hasho asks Axel to find Skins. That is her request. Before Axel leaves with the guard, he asks Hasho, "You know everything about me, don't you?" She confirms, and he continues, "Then you must know I have a really bad habit of escaping from prison." The guards tell Axel to hurry, but he pushes the guard away, saying, "No need to rush," which angers the guard. The guard draws his weapon, but Axel hits him, knocking the guard to the ground. Axel takes the guard's weapon, aims it at Hasho, and asks one of the other guards to free him from his restraints. After doing so, Axel runs to escape, moving swiftly from floor to floor. Some guards try to catch him, but he throws one of them from the top floor and continues his escape, dodging the guards' attacks and striking them back so they can't catch him. They almost surround him, but he jumps to another floor, and when he lands, one of the guards is waiting for him and grabs him, but Axel doesn't give up. He fights the guard, breaking free from his grip. The guard tries to hit Axel, but Axel manages to knock him down and continues his escape, avoiding the attacks from the other guards. He climbs high until he reaches an exit, pulls out the gun he has, and fires to make an opening through the exit. He jumps out of the opening and climbs to the top of the prison, continuing his escape. Meanwhile, Hasho's assistant receives a call from Hasho, informing him that Axel has escaped and asking him to bring the car, saying that Axel has transformed into a bird that has flown from its cage, prompting the assistant to move quickly. Switching to a student named Leland, who has protested against attending classes due to the imminent death they face from Habna, a girl named Chris approaches him. Chris greets Leland and tells him he seems to be doing well. Leland says he's happy, and she asks, "Does seeing humanity in crisis make you this happy?" He replies, "That's not the reason. The best part is I don't have to go to school again, and I'm not forced to now." Chris punches him, calling him an idiot. Then she sees a cat and tries to get closer to it, but the cat moves away, and Chris remarks that it isn't very friendly. Back to Hasho and her assistant. Hasho asks Elena to monitor the police communications and GPS. The assistant suggests that the police might have killed Axel. Hasho responds that it's not that simple. Elena announces that the police haven't found him yet. Hasho instructs her to keep observing. We shift to news broadcasts reporting that people are rioting, causing destruction and fires, along with live streams of government officials urging people to calm down and behave properly. There are also programs featuring prominent doctors informing the public that the government will not be able to produce an antidote to Habna within 30 days. All of this has affected the economy's collapse, the public's unrest, and the spread of riots across the country, with preparations for conflicts among different groups. The pharmaceutical company has stopped Habna from reaching the markets and ceased its production and distribution to drugstores. Next, we see Axel happily walking through the city when a police officer approaches him, asking what he's wearing. The officer jokes if prison attire is in style now or if he's escaped. Axel laughs and says it's in style now. Does anyone go into all this trouble themselves? He quips. The officer admits he has a point and tells him to go home due to the ongoing riots. After the officer leaves, he receives a phone call reporting that an inmate named Axel has escaped and that they will be sending his picture. As the officer receives the message, Axel changes course, heads to a clothing store, changes his clothes, and boards a train to another city. Cut to Hasho's office, where the president tells Hasho that the situation has worsened and that now that they know he's investigating, they haven't left behind any clues. He emphasizes the need for complete confidentiality. Hasho inquires about the development of Habna. The president replies that the situation is extremely difficult and time is very short. She insists they must find Dr. Skins. He confirms that this is the current situation and asks about their last member. She informs him that he has escaped but asserts, "I will definitely catch him." The president declares that he is their last hope for finding Skins. We then return to Axel, who has reached another city. At the train station, his picture gets recognized and authorities publish it, asking him to surrender and not resist. However, Axel won't give in and manages to run away again. The police attempt to block all exits and send officers to apprehend him, but Axel evades them and heads toward an emergency route, escaping from them. The police follow Axel closely. Switching to Elena, she tracks Axel's location and alerts Hasho's assistant, who is about to move, but Elena stops him, saying Axel is running through deserted areas. We return to Chris, who says she will go to him and greet him. Meanwhile, we see Axel, chased by police, continuing to evade them by jumping from building to building and sliding down from upper floors. Next, we find Leland visiting a graveyard while waiting for Hasho's assistant. When he gets into the car with him, the assistant asks Elena to update him on Axel's path. Elena responds that she will send it right away. We shift back to Axel, who continues to flee and enters a building to avoid being caught by the authorities. He jumps out of one of the windows and strikes one of the agents, destroying their equipment. We return to Elena, who reports that she has sent them his location. The assistant tells Chris that she can go first and force him to head north. Kiss said, "Can I shoot?" The assistant replied, "Go ahead, but don't damage any property." We move on to Axel, who is still running away and kept changing places. He almost fell from above in the streets but saved himself. After that, Chris shot at him to change his course. When she did that, Hasho's assistant rushed to him. When Axel reached the end of the road, the assistant was behind him and told him to stop and end this show now. He asked him to raise his hands. Axel said, "So you're the one who brought me to this spot, right?" The assistant replied, "I won't die until I see your face. At least tell me your name." The assistant said his name was Douglas. Axel said, "Then write this on my grave. A man died at the hands of a coward named Douglas who killed him from behind." Douglas told him, "You're provoking me to fight you up close," and informed him that this was the end of the line for him and that no one has wings to fly either. He asked him, "Do you want to try?" Axel jumped from the top of the building and grabbed Leland's helicopter, which caused him to fall on the big car. After that, he grabbed the pole in the road and landed on the ground. Chris took a picture of him, got closer, and said, "You're amazing." Axel replied, "Actually, I was running away." Chris said, "It doesn't matter," and asked him to take a picture together. When she got closer, she electrocuted him, which caused him to lose consciousness. Now we move to Hasho and her associates. Axel woke up from his unconsciousness and was looking around when he realized he didn't know where he was. Elena was hiding from him because she was scared. Then the rest of the team came in, and Chris told him, "It's good to see you awake." Axel said, "I saw all of you while I was asleep." Douglas told him, "No, before you fell asleep, we were with you." Hasho appeared on the screen and told him that she finally met him. Axel asked her, "I don't know you. Who are you?" Hasho replied, "We are Lazarus," and she said, "We welcome you with us." Axel tried to get rid of the wristbands on his hands, but he couldn't. Hasho informed him that he couldn't remove them, and through them, they could pinpoint his exact location. Axel looked at the hands of everyone behind those wristbands and said to them, "You are a bunch of bad people." Hasho told Axel that she wanted a favor from him. She wanted to know the location of Skins. She told him that he could either remain a fugitive or gain his freedom by finding Skins. Then Axel, with his swift moves, grabbed a Chris knife and aimed it at her head. Axel asked Hasho to remove these wristbands from his hands. She told him that she wouldn't be fooled by him again, which resulted in Axel receiving an electric shock that made him drop the weapon. Hasho warned him that if he managed to take off the wristband, his hand would burn completely. She also told them that they would suffer if anything happened to her. Axel replied, "Okay, to be honest, I wanted to meet this guy Skins." Hasho said that was good and told him to join everyone else. They moved to a press conference led by the president, who told them that no one knew what was going to happen next. After that, they moved to Skins' house and had an interview with the gardener who worked for Skins. They asked him if he knew anything about Skins' whereabouts or if he had anything to tell them. The gardener replied that he didn't know anything and that he was just taking care of the garden. They asked him if he'd heard or seen anything before. The gardener mentioned that they had previously buried a cat in the garden named Moby and laughed a lot. Next, we moved to a TV program hosted by a famous girl named Lisa. The host told her that she would be releasing an album of songs next month, but no one would be able to listen to it because of what would happen in the next 3 months. Lisa replied, "You are very right, but no one from the audience will come to watch this show either." The host said that after a while, there would also be the album. Then we transitioned to Hasho's headquarters. Axel asked, "What will we do if we find Skins? What do you think if we take the treatment from him and sell it for money?" Douglas said they weren't there for profit or personal gain. Chris asked, "So why are we here?" Douglas replied, "To save the world." Axel said, "We're like the Avengers or something like that." Chris replied, "So, we are superheroes." Douglas said that the most important thing now is to search for Skins. Axel, without hesitation, wanted to know something important. "Did any of you use Habna?" Everyone raised their hands, including him. After that, Douglas told Axel that this was their operations base until they confirmed him because he was against joining them. Axel asked Douglas, "Don't you think this place is a bit shabby for us world-saving heroes?" Douglas told him he was disguised in an old-fashioned style. Then he took him somewhere else and asked him to extend his hands to open the door. When Axel did that, the door opened. Douglas told him they scanned his hands while he was asleep. After that, we moved to their meeting room, and Douglas introduced them to the target, Skins, stating that he was born in Istanbul, had no children or wife, and that his parents were deceased, leaving him alone until now. He informed them that he attended several universities and was nicknamed the Second Einstein. Chris asked, "Shouldn't we talk more about his personality?" Douglas replied that Skins had won 3 Nobel Prizes but donated them to charities and was very humble in his life, even giving up the patents for the medicines he developed. Hasho mentioned that he was a very famous activist and had participated in all protests that called for peace. He was a strong supporter of climate change and attended many environmental summits. He also attended a United Nations meeting, urging countries to do more in his speech, which was one of the most important speeches he delivered in the United States. In this speech, he told them that in 3 years, the ice in the Arctic would melt, marking the beginning, and that they needed to act quickly to avoid things getting out of control. However, many countries did not take his speech seriously, leading them to walk out of the conference. After that, he disappeared without leaving any trace. Chris said he seemed like a real person but also had some evil deeds. Leland remarked that he was a very ordinary person. Douglas asked Leland if there were any eyewitness reports online. Leland replied that he hadn't seen any of that, but there was one thing. Skins helped the poor and gave his subway seat to an elderly woman, stating he seemed like a good person overall. Axel said, "I think this man is a saint." Douglas asked, "Why does this man want to destroy the world if he's a good person?" Hasho replied, "Regardless of that, there hasn't been any information since his disappearance 3 years ago, and it seems no one has been able to pinpoint his location." Axel asked, "Do you want me to believe he was imprisoned somewhere this whole time?" Leland suggested that he might be dead, and Douglas said he might have assumed someone else's identity. Chris added that he might be wearing some form of disguise. Elena said, "I think I found something about him." After that, the two of them got into their respective cars. Hasho, Axel, and Chris set out to a shelter to search for Skins, while Douglas and Leland visited their offices. Elena was tasked with reaching the maximum number of surveillance cameras worldwide if she could. After that, she would start the face recognition for Dr. Skins. Elena agreed and began her mission. Hasho warned that if Skins changed his appearance, this plan would fail, but they had no other option. We moved to Chris and Axel on the road. Chris asked Axel, "You were in prison, right? How many years did you spend there?" Axel replied that he thought it had reached 888 years. Then Chris suddenly stopped and pointed her gun at Axel, telling him to get out of the car, saying she wouldn't drive with a criminal like him. She told him that those years are earned when you kill someone, and asked him how many people he had killed. Axel replied, "Let me explain and calm down. Do you know that the government doubles prison sentences for those who try to escape again and again?" He explained that he was sentenced to 3 years, but after several escape attempts, his sentence increased to that ridiculous number. Chris asked Axel, "Why did you try to escape?" Axel said, "I think that's my favorite hobby." Next, we switched to Douglas and Leland's car. Leland asked Douglas why he was wearing those things on his wrist. Douglas asked Leland if he wanted to know. Leland replied it was just curiosity and asked if he had really done something bad. Douglas said, "No, not like that," and told him he had been exiled here due to some silly offenses. Leland responded, "Offenses? Really?" Douglas told him, "Enough about me. It's your turn now," Leland stated. "There's nothing crazy about my story, just a few minor thefts." Douglas said, "I think you're in the small-time thief category, but Elena's not in the same category." Leland asked, "Are you sure?" Douglas replied that she was a notorious hacker who committed crimes on a global scale. Leland said that she was always quiet when he was around her. Douglas remarked that she could be the biggest wild card on the team. After that, they all moved to their designated places and began checking the area for skins. While they searched 2 locations for skins, we switched to Chris and Axel, who found one of the individuals sitting in a chair, unconscious. Axel asked, "Is this skins or not?" Chris replied that it could be him, but he had undergone cosmetic surgery. Axel was about to wake the man up when they heard voices of people approaching them. Gunfire erupted, and Axel shot back. Chris mentioned that they were Russians. Axel asked her if she could understand their language, and remarked that he thought there was a mix of 2 languages. Chris asked Axel, "Are you really enjoying this?" He responded, "Is it that obvious?" Chris then asked Axel, "What is this necklace?" Axel replied, "It's a lucky charm," explaining that it always kept him safe, and as long as he had it, he felt invincible. He then attacked the gang, shooting at them, which surprised Chris greatly. She commented that it was unnatural, and she ran away from the gunfire. Axel also fled from the gang's gunfire but hid from them. After that, he attacked them, taking out some of them. Shortly afterward, he encountered another man while escaping, took his weapon, and took him out too. After that, Axel narrowly avoided being hit by gunfire but evaded the shots and rejoined Chris, and they ran away together. They came across 2 gang members and took them out as well. Following that, Axel sprinted toward a man he believed to be Skins, but the police arrived and ordered him to stop. Axel told them that he was one of the super beings too. After that, Chris illuminated the area, causing the man to wake up and start crying, begging them not to kill him. Axel then examined the man's blood, performing an analysis and proving it was also not Skins. Axel and Chris exited the place and Axel called Douglas, updating him on everything. Chris remarked that the place resembled a circus, and a group of police officers arrived, making it impossible to fabricate this story. Douglas and Leland moved to another place in search of Skins, but someone was waiting for them, armed. Douglas approached the computers and said he thought they had been working for a while. Leland wandered around to explore the place, but a man aimed his weapon at him and signaled for him to be quiet, which scared Leland a lot. Then Douglas pointed his gun at the stranger, but the man told him to calm down and lower his weapon so that his friend wouldn't get hurt. Douglas did that as well. After that, the stranger asked Douglas, "Now tell me, where is he?" Douglas replied, "Who are you talking about?" The stranger said, "Tell me what you know, so none of us gets hurt." Douglas told him that they didn't know where he was. The stranger then said, "Keep pretending to be dumb, and let him know I know how they cooperate with each other." After that, another man joined them, aiming his gun at them, claiming to be Dung. He said he wanted to see Kobashi now because he owed him. He got closer to Douglas and said he knew Kobashi was there and wouldn't leave until he got all his money. Douglas said, "Wait," and asked, "You're not here for Skins, are you?" The armed stranger asked Dung, "Who are you?" Dung replied, "I'm a debt collector." The stranger said, "And I'm also a debt collector." They realized that neither of them was working for Kobashi, so they sat together. The stranger said to Leland, "I think you work with this loser," and Dung asked Leland, "You're also looking for Kobashi?" Leland then became friends with the 2 men and they laughed together. Next, we switched to a man resembling Dr. Skins, who said his life had been one big gamble, and all he wanted was a chance to change his life for the better. He didn't know he would hit rock bottom, so he took Habana, thinking he could speed things up and end it all quickly. But he thought this was a sign for him, a new beginning. He felt excited but remembered that life would end in 30 days, and he felt hopeless again. Now we moved to Elena and Hasho. Elena said that she had found Skins, but there were many of them in the world. Elena continued to search for Skins, and Douglas mentioned he thought someone had hacked the surveillance systems and changed a lot from the face to Skins. Elena confirmed this was true and told them that they had perfected it and that they had changed the polygons as well as the thermal imaging. Axel asked Elena if she thought Skins was behind all of this. She replied that she didn't think so, but she knew 3 hackers who could do it and carry out a task like that. She told them their names: the Popcorn Wizard, Dr. 909, known as Walmara, and the last one was herself. This led to astonishment from Leland, and Douglas speculated that one of the other two was helping Skins. Hachu asked Elena if she could find them. Elena replied that she was working on that, and Hachu noted that the surveillance cameras were no longer an option for them, but this gave them one clue that Skins must have undergone cosmetic surgery to change his appearance. Otherwise, there would be no need for all this. Douglas said that somewhere he was out there with the same face, and Hachu asked Leland and Chris to search Skins' house. After that, Douglas said he had a lead he wanted to follow, and they got into the car. Douglas told Axel that there was a man named Claude Klein who was his mentor when he worked in the lab at his university, and in the past, he had been involved in some projects researching Skins, and they might be able to get some evidence from him. Axel replied that this was disgusting and asked why he was being paired with them. Douglas told him this was not out of love for him and asked him to do his job, and he would do his as well. Leland and Chris went to Skins' house and informed the police that they were from Klein's team. Leland told the police they were there to clean Mr. Skins' house. The officer asked them if they hadn't been following the news and informed them that the homeowner was missing. Leland replied that they were told they would be paid in advance. The officer told them he was also informed not to let anyone in. Leland suggested they would make them send the bill to him, which annoyed the officers. Leland added that there would also be cancellation fees, and if they approved it without finishing their work, they would be charged, and he suspected it would be a significant amount. Now we move to Stanford Hospital, where Axel and Douglas went. Axel asked Douglas where his mentor was. Douglas replied that he retired and told them they had no information about him, and there was a rumor that he was homeless. Axel said if that's the case, he could help Douglas find him. Douglas said that was great. Now we return to Skins' house, where Leland and Chris passed through the police. Chris told Leland that she was not the type to hide from anything. Leland asked her what she was doing before she joined them. Chris replied that she had traveled the world as a secret agent, and then they entered Skins' house. Next, we see Douglas and Axel after they went to a homeless shelter. Axel told Douglas he knew the head of the homeless there, who was a former cellmate named Jerry, and stepped forward. However, Douglas did not walk with Axel, and Axel asked, "Are you scared?" Douglas replied that there was nothing to be afraid of. As they moved forward, Axel gave him a light punch and told him not to pretend to be strong in front of him. After that, we move to Chris and Leland searching for any evidence that could help them reach Skins, and we shift back to Douglas and Axel, who were looking for Jerry, Axel's friend. Each of them asked a group of homeless people, but no one pointed them to Jerry. We returned to Chris and Leland again, and they appeared exhausted due to the hard work and intense searching. Leland said there was nothing useful here. Chris replied that was obvious since the police had searched before and had broken the place down. While Chris was putting her hands under a seat, she found a pill for herpes and asked Leland if it was herpes medication. Chris replied that she didn't think so and that she believed it was medication for herpes. Leland replied, "You're joking, right?" She responded that of course, she was joking. Now we return to Douglas and Axel, where one of the homeless men told Axel, "You're not one of us, are you?" He informed him that Jill was the one who ran things there. Axel asked, "Jill? Who is she?" The homeless man replied that she was right behind him. When Axel looked back, Jill appeared surprised and hugged him, telling him she hadn't seen him in a long time. Axel told Jill that he missed her too, and pointed out that she had become a woman. Jerry told him that he had become a woman, and was calling herself Jill. Axel told her that he was happy for her new look. Jill said she missed him, and hugged him again, which made Douglas feel disgusted. After that, they moved to Jill's tent, where she asked Axel if he still thought he was in prison. Axel replied that he had gotten out again. Jill asked him if it was an escape. He told her, "Kind of." Jill asked him what brought him here. Douglas told Jill that they were looking for someone named Claude, and that they were told he could be found in this place. He was about to show her his picture, but Jill gestured for Douglas not to do that and told him that she was a transgender woman with a criminal record and had also gone bankrupt, and that was not a rare story. She told him that some people were happy about the end of the world, even if they said so, and these people had circumstances that led them here. Hence, it was better to treat people without digging into their pasts. Douglas told Jill that when he was an academic researcher, a man once told him that there was no Black Einstein, and that it was impossible for people like him to win a Nobel Prize, no matter how hard they tried. Unfortunately, it ended up with him hitting him, that he was the university dean, and he was expelled from the university because of his actions. However, Dr. Claude defended him until the last moment, and he hadn't thanked him yet. Jill asked Douglas to see his picture. After that, we switched to Dr. Claude, who was playing chess, and Douglas assisted him until he managed to win. Claude asked Douglas, "Is that you, Douglas?" Douglas replied that it had been a long time. After that, a homeless person challenged Axel to a basketball game, and then Claude and Douglas moved to Claude's tent. Claude said to Douglas that he thought he was surprised by how he had reached this state. Douglas told him that he wanted help from him, and told him he wanted to know Skin's whereabouts, and asked if he knew where he was. Claude replied that he hadn't spoken to him in years and didn't know where he was, and he hadn't known humanity would end one day because of the medicine he invented. Douglas replied that any information he had would be very helpful. Claude told Douglas that he thought Skins was a good guy, and others saw him that way, but he was obsessed and blinded by his quest and that it disturbed everyone he worked with. He was exhausting, and he knew he couldn't keep up with him, so he cut ties with him. But when he saw him rise to fame, he felt jealous and desperately wanted to surpass him and leave a mark in this world. That frustration drove him to falsify the results of his research, which led to his expulsion from the university, and it ended for him. Claude told Douglas that one time they discussed baklava. Douglas said, "The Eastern sweet?" Claude replied that Skins had told him that his grandmother made the best baklava in the world and praised it because her recipe was magical, and that no one could make it like hers. He said she lived somewhere in Istanbul, but he didn't know if she was still alive or had passed away. Douglas thanked Claude and told him he was grateful for his defending him before. Meanwhile, Axel was in a challenge and managed to win against the homeless man he was challenging. Douglas approached Jill and asked if she and Axel knew each other before, replied that they had just met. Jill told him that Axel was one of those people who could adapt anywhere easily, even if he were in prison, but he disappears suddenly. She told him that Axel was a real mystery. After Axel finished winning against the homeless man, he asked Douglas if he found the evidence he had been looking for. Douglas replied, "Of course." After that, Axel said goodbye to Jill, and Jill bid him farewell, asking him to come back again. They moved to Hasho's headquarters, where they were looking for anything that would lead them to Skins. Elena told them to look for something and informed them that she found a place called the High Crime Area, which has no cameras or data on it. Douglas said it seemed like a unique hiding place, and Skins could be there. Leland suggested that they might be walking into a trap, and Chris agreed that this couldn't be denied. Axel said they should go and see for themselves. Elena mentioned it would take 6 hours to get there and told them to take the hypercube to Istanbul. Hasho said this remains their only option. They traveled via the hypercube and arrived in Istanbul, where Leland said they finally made it, and Axel asked Leland why he was wearing those clothes. Leland replied that they told him it was best to disguise himself because the place wasn't safe enough. Axel asked if he thought that was true, to which Leland replied definitely before he left and went on. After that, they started wandering around the city. There were some criminals watching them, and then we shifted to Hasho's headquarters, where Elena told Hasho that they were dealing with people who hide their identities, so she set some floating traps and was monitoring all transactions passing through the node point. She conducted a fake deconstruction on the multiple compression functions of the hash algorithm. Hasho asked Elena to explain it to her in simpler terms, and Elena told Hasho that they were bait. We moved to Axel and Leland, who were wandering around the city when some criminals surrounded them, causing Leland to feel very scared, but Axel told Leland to run to save his life. The criminals attacked them, but Axel fought back and landed some hits on them. After that, he took Leland, and they ran away, but the criminals were chasing them. Axel grabbed a moving car and helped Leland join him in the vehicle. After that, they jumped from the top of the moving car while escaping across the rooftops of the city. Leland fell inside one of the buildings, and the criminals captured him, intending to steal his belongings. One of the criminals pulled out an axe, but Axel appeared and fought the criminals off, defeating them. Just as the axe-wielding criminal was about to strike Leland, Leland said they came there to enjoy some baklava made by Mrs. Belinda. When the criminals heard this, they stopped immediately and began to listen to them. We switched back to Hasho's headquarters, where Chris asked Douglas about the Istanbul team's news. Douglas said he hadn't heard anything about them. Chris asked if they were dead, and Douglas replied he didn't think so because their indicators suggested they were still alive. Chris questioned why Hasho chose Leland to go with Axel instead of them, who seemed more suitable for this mission. Douglas said it seemed like he was a grandson. We transitioned to Istanbul, where they headed to Belinda's house. Belinda opened the door for them and told them they were the boys who came to meet her from outside the city. Leland replied yes, of course. After that, Belinda gave the criminals some sweets, which made them very happy, and they left. Then she invited Axel and Leland inside. After that, she served them the baklava they requested, and they enjoyed it a lot. Belinda asked Axel if he could introduce himself. Axel asked her not to tell anyone, but they were secret agents. Belinda asked him if he meant like James Bond. Axel said something like that and added that they were all for transparency these days. Belinda asked if they had a kill permit, and Axel replied, of course, which surprised her. Belinda said they were there for her grandson and told them she hadn't seen him in many years, and she didn't couldn't hide him, but no one ever asked her. We shift to Hasho, who said patience is a virtue. We return to Belinda's house, where she told them that Skins lost his parents when he was young, so she raised him. He was just a regular boy and a sweet, crying child. There was nothing strange about him. Regardless of the years or chaos he caused, to her, he is still the grandson she raised. Leland said he recognized that flower. Belinda replied that Skins had brought it to her and mentioned it is a rare type of tulip. Axel asked Belinda when she last spoke to Skins. She replied about 3 years ago and told them he sent her a video. She made them watch the video where Skins mentioned he hadn't come to visit her because he was busy. He wanted to come to her and taste her baklava, but he couldn't, and asked her to take care of herself until he visited her. Leland said he didn't think this type of man would commit a horrific crime. Axel searched the place and said he believed Skins was watching this place to ensure Belinda's safety. He found a security camera and said, "You Skins, I know you're watching me, and I want you to remember my face because I'm coming to crush you." We transitioned to Elena and Hasho, where Elena told Hasho that she had been hunting criminals and discovered the missing wallet of Dr. 909 and that it was time for destruction. Hasho said that Dr. 909 is one of the most dangerous hackers in the world and informed them that the FBI has been unable to locate him. However, thanks to Elena, we managed to find him and identify his hidden wallet. I asked Cree what his hidden wallet is. Douglas replied to think of it as a bank account for cryptocurrencies. Hasho noted that when we looked into it, we found an unusual flow of money. Leland asked if this was real. Hasho said it's a huge amount, especially since right before the Skins announcement, stock trader Sam deposited a large sum into Dr. 909's account. One of the signs is that he knew in advance that Habna's stocks would crash. Chris mentioned that he sold a lot of them before the news broke. I said Elena's Skins plan started 3 years ago when he disappeared and erased all traces of himself. It must have been impossible to do that without top-level hackers. Douglas added that this guy, Dr. 909, helped Skins disappear in exchange for information about Habna, then collaborated with Sam to pull out profits before the crash. Hasho said this seems to be the natural conclusion to the matter. Axel stated that all we need to do now is catch Dr. 909. Chris asked if he thought it would be that easy. Hasho said that Elena will continue to monitor the wallet for any new movements, and the rest should go look for Sam. It's very likely he's in contact with Dr. 909. Douglas mentioned that Sam is this guy and shared his picture with the rest of the team. Leland pointed out that he's the stock trader. Axel added that he's just another investor full of cash. Chris remarked that he's definitely not a fan and assumes he's rich, narcissistic, and dumb. Douglas mentioned that he thinks he's a big shot and makes women wait. Leland suggested searching for him online and watching a video of him taking Habna, assuring everyone there's nothing to worry about while he celebrates with everyone. He told them that this is the only thing he loves to keep at his private club, which is the sharpest item they saw, leading them to feel disgusted after watching the video. Axel asked how they would meet those fools. Douglas said that Sam throws a party at his club every week and chooses a new girl to join him. So when they arrived there, Leland asked why he was dressed as a woman. Douglas replied it's for safety. We don't know what kind of girl this guy prefers. Axel told Leland that he thinks the outfit suits him very well and approached him. Douglas asked them to stop joking. Chris said it's impossible. They've booked Vizinar as the DJ tonight. Axel asked if he's famous. Leland responded, "Don't you know him?" Chris said it's time to enjoy. Douglas reminded everyone what they were there for. We shift to Elena, who faced a problem and asked Hasho what the issue was. Elena said it was regarding the deposit locations that occurred over the past 2 weeks. She showed her the locations, and Hasho noted that these deposits happened all around the world. Elena added that even more, they occurred through ATMs. Hasho said this means he used someone to make these deposits instead of doing it himself, avoiding being tracked. Elena stated that doesn't make sense. He must meet them in person to pass the entry device. Hasho replied that anyway, the camera systems at the ATMs should have recorded someone making the deposits. Elena said she'd try to look into it. We moved to Sam's club, and Douglas stated they would now enter to carry out the mission as 2 teams. It was obvious they couldn't bring any weapons. He told Chris and Leland that their mission was to attract Sam by putting on a spectacular act, and if they could contact him, they should lure him to a secluded spot. Leland asked what if he didn't pick them. Axel said they'd move to plan B, which is hitting him hard. Douglas insisted there is no other plan and reminded them they were in his territory. The last thing they wanted was for him to escape because they caused a mess. When they entered the club, Chris went to dance. Leland hid due to his outfit, and Axel tried to go upstairs but was stopped by one of the guards because he didn't have an entry tattoo. After that, Axel joined Douglas, who noted that the security was very tight. Axel observed it seemed the VIP area was upstairs and required a tattoo to enter. We alternate to Hasho and Elena, who showed Hasho the guy who was doing the deposits. eyes, clearly the same man. Elena said that no one showed their face, so she couldn't recognize them. We move to Sam's club, where Chris orders a drink from the waiter. Then, Axel joins her and asks Chris to slow down with the drink. Chris tells him it's only the beginning. After that, she calls over a man next to them to order a drink, and Axel notices the digital tattoo on the man's hand. Axel goes behind him, and Chris asks the waiter if Sam will show up tonight. The waiter replies that it's hard to know, and mentions that the owner himself shows up from time to time. Chris expresses her hope to take a picture with him. The waiter whispers to her that he always comes in with the DJ, and they arrive here on a private jet. Chris thanks him, and we shift back to Axel, who strikes one of the owners of the digital tattoo and takes the tattoo from his arm. Next, we see Leland, who is still hiding, and Douglas approaches him, asking why he isn't drawing any attention. Leland explains that he doesn't know how to dance. Douglas asks him to dance with him, and if he can dance, to which Douglas replies, "Of course I can." They then head to the dance bar, causing Douglas to attract some attention. We switch back to Chris and Axel, where she mentions she has danced a lot and hasn't received a single invitation, surprised that Leland was invited. Axel finds it amusing and thinks they must believe he's better looking than her, which leads to Chris getting angry with Axel. Then, Sam arrives by plane, and Chris joins Leland, entering the VIP areas. We switch to Elena, who tells Hasho that the wallet has just dealt with something new. Hasho asks where it is, and Elena answers that it's in Babylonia, which is very close to them. Back at Sam's club, Sam introduces them to the DJ, Venger, who is the coordinator for tonight's party. They welcome him, and the women scream in excitement. Douglas comments that it's great they got in touch with Sam. Axel says it's their turn now, and Chris introduces herself and Leland to Sam and the coordinator, sitting down with him. Chris asks Sam about the stocks, also asking if they're making money. One of Sam's friends jumps in, saying they have artificial intelligence handling all the trades for them. Sam mentions Delta stock is falling. One of the attendees remarks it's because of Habna, and Sam agrees, adding that women typically don't understand anything. He also mentions Skins is very great. One of the girls asks if they're not afraid that Habna might kill them. Sam responds, "Why be scared? He'll show up with another cure and save us," said Sam's friend. "And we'll profit millions too," Sam states, saying they do this all the time. He hugs Chris and Leland as if he were a girl, but Leland pulls away, and Chris says she's very shy. The coordinator says he likes that, and asks her to go with him to a private area, and they leave. Sam tells the coordinator he has a different taste in women. The coordinator responds, "Shut up, man." Then Sam says it's drink time, and Axel and Douglas move to the VIP section. The bouncer stops them, but Axel shows him the digital tattoo. We shift to the coordinator and Leland, where the coordinator tells Leland he doesn't like the way the other girls look because they are naked, and he doesn't care about them. He tells Leland the type of person he likes is someone who hasn't been touched before. Leland asks the coordinator if his set is about to start. The coordinator replies that he leaves all the songs and that stuff to the AI and doesn't care about the music at all. The only reason he is a DJ is that the girls like him. Then, one of the staff approaches the coordinator, saying it's showtime. We switch to Elena, who located the man working the deposits, and asks Hasho where he is now. Elena replies he's in Babylonia City, and these are clips from half an hour ago. The man goes up to the roof and heads for the helicopter. Elena tries to take a picture of him, but she can't from the front due to distortion in the image. She says she succeeded in this and mentions she has seen this man before. Hasho notes that he's the coordinator. Elena says this makes sense because he's always at parties traveling around the world, handling all the transactions. Next, we move to Axel and Douglas as they nearly reach the upper floor, but the guards catch them. One of the guards asks them where they got the digital tattoos. We cut to Sam, who tells his friends those women are chasing after him, which is why he did this with his punch cup, asking them to do as they please. Sam then approaches Chris, who tells him to stop coming close to her. Sam reassures her that she's in his private club, and the police can't come here. He guarantees that the punch will make her forget everything. Chris tells Sam, "So you enjoy preying on women," which surprises Sam because Chris isn't affected by her drink. Chris tells Sam that these cheap party drugs don't affect her, and she punches him. She gets closer, slapping him, then strikes him a few more times before delivering a kick that sends him tumbling off the roof onto the coordinator. We switch back to Axel and Douglas after they've uncovered the truth about Dr. 909, who is the coordinator. Axel and Douglas manage to get rid of the guards by striking them and taking their weapons. Leland is also fleeing the scene. Then Sam tells the coordinator, after hearing gunshots, that this isn't good and they need to escape. We shift back to Chris, who has just neutralized a guard and then saves Leland from being chased by another guard. Another guard attacks her, but Chris knocks him down and escapes with Leland. We then move to Douglas, caught in a gunfight with the guards, who ducks next to Axel and tells them that Sam and the coordinator are trying to escape by plane. Leland says he will get the car right away. After that, Sam and the coordinator board the plane, and Axel and Chris try to catch up with them, but they're delayed because they're dealing with some guards. Sam orders the plane to take off, and when it does, Axel runs quickly and jumps, managing to grab onto the plane. Sam observes Axel and comments that this man has seen too many action movies. Chris says Axel is crazy. While Axel hangs onto the plane, Douglas and Leland follow them in the car. Then, Sam instructs the plane to get rid of this man, but the plane refuses the request, making Sam very angry. Afterward, Leland sends a small plane from their car to help Axel. As Axel nearly crashes into a crane, he releases the plane, but their plane is waiting for him and rescues him. Axel tells Leland to head to Sam's plane and pulls out a weapon. Just as Sam and the coordinator think they've rid themselves of Axel, he reappears with the gun pointed at them, inciting their anger again. Sam orders the plane once more to take out this guy, but the plane refuses again, further infuriating Sam. The plane attempts to collide with Axel, but Axel evades the plane's attack and fires at it, injuring it, which causes it to crash into the water. Axel approaches them, pointing the weapon at them. Sam tells him he will give him the money he wants, but to not kill him. Axel responds, "Okay, but will you tell me where Skins is?" He demands that Sam tell him everything, or he will face an attack. Sam asks the coordinator, "Do you know anything?" The coordinator says he has no idea. Sam further questions the coordinator, asking how he acquired all this money. The coordinator replies that he hacked some data from Delta. Axel insists, "Then give me that information," but the coordinator says he can't. Sam snatches it from the coordinator and hands it to Axel. After that, Axel leaves using his small plane. Subsequently, Sam gets arrested for insider trading along with the hacker Dr. 909 due to a data leak. We move to Hasho's headquarters, where they're following the news. Douglas states that Dr. 909 has nothing to do with Skins, while Hasho insists he has no connection to it. Elena mentions that they now know Delta was aware of Habna's risks, implying a level of accountability. Axel states that these people are connected to Skins. Next, we cut to a laboratory filled with monkeys, many of which were there, but one of them has died. We moved to the president's house, and he was asleep. After that, he woke up, threw the phone, and crashed into the walls, which caused it to break. Then we moved to Hashu's headquarters, where Douglas said that Dr. 909 had hacked into Delta's data leaders and learned about the Habna threat. More importantly, Delta was responsible for the secret experiments on Habna. Hashu asked if Delta knew exactly how dangerous the drug was. Douglas told them that this picture was among the images, and Dylan asked if his mother saw the picture. Hashu said that this picture was among the ones they took from 909, and she had no idea what it was. Axel asked what if the company was conspiring with Skinner, and if so, all the experiments might be forged. Douglas said this was possible. The conclusion here is that it is possible that Axel was connected to Skinner. Hashu asked Elena if there was anything new, and Elena replied that she hadn't found any data from the secret experiments, but found something strange. She told them about someone who was uploading music from their servers weekly to a music site called SoundCloud. Chris said it might be someone who loves music, and Dylan asked what was strange about that. Elena told them to listen to this and played a clip for them, but they didn't understand anything. Douglas then asked Elena to open this clip from another program, and when she did, strange files appeared. Hashu, after approaching the screen, said these were the secret files of the experiments. Douglas asked if she could distinguish them, and she said, of course, on a basic level. Chris asked why they would encrypt the experiment data and then upload it to a social media site because they wanted it to reach someone who prefers to remain hidden. Dylan said this person would do that. Chris said it was Skinner, and Axel said they now had a lot of documents about them, so they should go and welcome them. After that, they went to Delta's building, and Chris said there were no tall buildings to jump from to reach them. Dylan tried using his drone, but it didn't work because they had a jamming device. Douglas said they had an underground parking lot not connected to the building. While Chris continued surveillance, Axel was heading to the building and entered easily but caught the guard's attention. When he reached the elevator, the guards approached him and got in with him. Inside the elevator, the guards thoroughly searched him, and Axel told Douglas outside that it was unbelievable he went there alone and went upstairs. After that, we moved to the elevator, where Axel was constantly fighting 4 guards, but eventually, Axel defeated them alone. After that, he got out of the elevator and went to the president, put the phone on his head from behind, and asked him not to move and to disable all security systems. The president said he couldn't do that, and Axel said, "I told you, please." Then the president said to deactivate the security system. After that, Axel sat in front of him and showed him the experiments on the screen, which surprised the president, who asked who he was. Axel also had a video call with his friends, and Douglas told the president they knew he was the one who uploaded it to the internet. The president asked Axel what he wanted from him, the money. Axel said he wanted to know where Skinner was. The president said no one was more tired than him of not knowing where he was, and they had no way to contact him, so they had to go through all this trouble just to send the data. Douglas asked the president if he knew that Habna would go bad, and the president asked if it would become toxic. Douglas asked the president how this would help them. The president asked if they were sure Skinner was the killer. Before they conducted any human experiments, they did experiments on a type of monkey, and one of them recently died, and its eyes turned into a distorted color resembling a starry sky. They told them that humans would soon go through this experience. Douglas asked the president if he could create an antidote. The president said they had allocated all their resources to do this, but even their RD team didn't know what to do. He swore that Skinner was the embodiment of Satan. Axel said if Skinner was the devil, then they were the angels who would put him in jail. Axel said he was tired of chasing Skinner and wanted to lure the devil out. After that, we moved to Hashu's president reading an announcement from Delta about an emergency conference about Habna treatment. He asked Hashu if this invitation was sent to famous doctors and researchers. Hashu said, "Of course, this was an event, and as soon as Skinner found out that someone had developed an antidote for Habna, he would definitely come to verify it." Hashu's president said if this conference was fake, as he thought, they would lure Skinner out and arrest him when he appeared. Hashu said, "Of course, the committee would hold its investigation soon," and her president asked if she had heard about it. Hasho said she had and told him they had to show some solutions at this time, or they would be in a very weak position. The president said that in this situation, they couldn't make him back down or forget, so they had to make him come out. After that, we moved to Delta's company, and there are many guards for the conference. We moved to DeLand, and he said, "This antidote seems real." Hasho told him that each one of these vials contains a tracking system in case anyone tries to steal it. We moved to Douglas, and he asked, "How will they be able to enter?" Axel said, "They might try to storm the building from the outside." Douglas said, "It's possible that they'll sneak in disguised as invited demonstrators." The head of Delta said that their private security company had searched the building and conducted a complete sweep to check for listening devices. The guard said, "There are 50 security personnel, including me, on high alert. We have also examined 50 security men, and it is difficult for Skins to place a spy among us." Lylan said, "If we attract Skins' attention, and if his hacker can enter the system, then what?" Hasho said, "Here comes Elena." Elena said, "Delta has one of the basic networks for dealing with classified information and another network for dealing with all the vital functions of the building." Chris said, "What's the difference between them?" Elena told her, "The basic network located here is isolated from all other communications, and the wall is protected, so no wireless signal can pass through. Even smartphones are not allowed, and such regular phones must be used." DeLand asked, "Is it possible for the hacker to give up?" Elena told him, "No, the stronger the security, the more hackers can't resist. Besides that, we attracted them by leaving the basic network available from the outside." Hasho said, "Things are about to start." She asked them to prepare well. Axel said, "Come on, Skins, let's celebrate now." After that, we moved to Delta, where many researchers and doctors had arrived, and they entered one by one through the gate. They were asked to hand over their smartphones, but Dr. Patrick forgot to hand over his phone, which drew attention. Douglas asked Hashu who this was, and Hashu said he was under his supervision. Douglas told Hashu it would be better to watch him. Then Douglas followed him to the stage. After that, we moved to the president, who was asked if he felt better now. The president said, of course, he was sorry if they were worried about him, and told them he had fallen into deep depression because he saw Skinner as the devil, but those men told him they had to fight regardless, and he agreed to follow their advice. He just forgot how to fight well, but he had slept better since the previous night. After that, the conference began, and the president, Ahmed, said thank you for attending and said he wouldn't take much of their time. He told them that they had found a cure for Habna. While he was spreading the news, Hashu's friends were already in their positions. Then we moved to Douglas, who passed by someone going to the bathroom. Then we moved to Elena, who said an alert had occurred, and someone was trying to pass through. The source of the attempt was the North Pole. Hasho asked if they were soldiers, and Elena said they were fake and monitoring multiple access points from everywhere. After that, the electricity went out in the conference, and Elena said this room had a special generator, so there was no problem. She also told them that the network hadn't been hacked yet. She told them the perpetrator was inside the building, and asked someone to go check the circuit breaker room. Dylan said he would go, and Axel asked about the person in the bathroom. Douglas immediately went to him, and Douglas told the security to watch the exits and not let anyone leave, and asked Chris to come to him. Axel checked the bathroom, but the man wasn't a villain. Then we moved to Dylan, who said there was no problem in the circuit breaker room. After that, one of the attendees ran toward the antidote and injected himself, saying he was now saved. Security immediately caught him, and Hashu said to hold him so they could identify who he was. Douglas did so and told them the man didn't let them underestimate the treatment alone. He called the man a fool. After that, we move to Excel, who continues to investigate. Later, a girl infiltrates the building and disables everything, but Elena manages to fix everything again. However, the girl takes control of the air conditioning, making the weather extremely hot. After that, she breaches the core and Elena says, "We're being attacked from 50 locations." Hashu asks if this means there are 50 hackers. Elena clarifies that it's not 50 hackers but 50 devices. She explains that the breach is happening because of the wireless guard devices. We move to Excel, who is one of the guards. Excel asks if this device is connected externally. The guard replies that these new devices don't have that feature, they're only for internal communication. He mentions that the old devices had that feature and informs him that the manufacturing company contacted them to replace the old devices. Excel speculates that if this is the hacker's target and all they wanted was to introduce these devices into the building, we cut to Deland and Hashu. Deland asks if breaching the main network would put them in danger. Elena says they took the bait and started tracking. In case things go wrong, she planted a fake file in the central computer, which can help identify the hacker's location. Douglas says, losing the battle to win the war. Elena replies that the main network is still under their control, so they should remain cautious. The doctors and researchers, including Chris, prepare to leave the building. The systems disable Excel's movement, and Elena reveals that they found the hackers in the Islamabad Stock Exchange in Pakistan. Hashu suggests contacting the local authorities to raid the location. Douglas mentions that every stock exchange in any country has a secured network infrastructure, and breaching it could provide enough bandwidth for the hacker to launch a massive cyber attack. We then move to the Islamabad Stock Exchange. When the police arrive, the hackers leave immediately. The police inform Hashu that no one is there. Elena notes that they're moving now, and questions how they can move with such a large amount of data from the mountains. We then cut to the girl hacker, who after escaping the police, starts working on her computer again. She says, "Let me see this remedy," and remarks that she thinks everything is fake, as she expected. She then throws away the computer. Elena later says sadly that they've fled and believes they've set up their mobile base near the stock exchange to distract them. Chris remarks that this means they've lost the battle in the war. Deland asks what they should do now. After this, Elena receives a call from the hacker, who calls herself the Popcorn Witch. She compliments Elena saying, "This is very impressive, a big salute to you." She informs Elena that she was very close to being discovered, which is truly astonishing. Elena tries to keep her on the line but fails. They moved to Hasho's headquarters when they found a book containing information about Skins. He visited one of the colonies 15 years ago. In his youth, Skins had a lot of talent and was successful, distinguished by his philosophy and numerous achievements from a young age. This colony is now a new religious group known as the Tower of Truth, and they venerate artificial intelligence as a living being, following it because it possesses none of the human desires. This all seems suspicious, and they have isolated themselves from society, living off the land in self-sufficiency. If Skins lives in this world, we don't believe it would be his ideal destination. Some among them believe Skins is in the same place, while others doubt it. However, Elena might connect with their artificial intelligence and learn everything, but their AI is completely isolated from the outside world and is called Naja. She knows this because she grew up there. They then decided that they might sneak in from the outside if they cannot make contact, and that Elena could return to them again, possibly being accepted if she wanted to live with them once more. She would undertake this mission alone, which could be dangerous for her, but if someone older accompanied her, it might raise suspicions. However, if it's a young person, it may not pose a danger, especially if it's Leland. They then split into two cars and set off toward the Tower of Truth. They informed them that if they found Skins inside, they would try to contact them, and if they didn't find him or didn't communicate within 72 hours, they would come to help because they planned to sleep nearby. Then they moved inside, and Elena's old friend, Hannah, welcomed her. Elena introduced Leland to Hannah for a warm welcome. They continued walking until Elena met Carl, whom she also knew from a long time ago. Carl came forward to greet Elena and assured her that the outside world was full of sins and filth, so she was confident about her return. Then Billy, the leader of the place, approached them and warmly greeted Leland, as he was a new member of the family, timing their arrival with the sacred festival. They then moved to their rooms and had their communication devices confiscated. They were told that these devices were poorly made, and the entire outside world was full of false information that could easily deceive people. But not to worry, as Naja would take care of them here, and it wouldn't take long to rid themselves of the outside thinking in their heads. Night fell upon them, and they went to sleep, but Leland woke up and went outside. Elena followed him, but they could not reach any signals to contact their team from inside because of interference in the area. Then, we shift to the rest of the team's lodging, where Douglas communicates with Hasho, requesting a list of researchers who visited the Tower of Truth during Skin's visit. Federal agents began moving quickly, making it challenging to obtain any information now, but they would try to find what they could. After ending the call, Douglas left his room and spoke with Chris about Elena and Leland, expressing their concern for them. So far, they had not received any messages from them, and they would wait because they had no other option. It was hard not to worry about them since they were members of Lazarus. Meanwhile, Axel continued his training to maintain his physical fitness. Then we shift back to Elena and Leland. Hannah took them on a tour inside the tower, showing them what they were doing and how they achieved self-sufficiency in everything. She provided them with food, and they began discussing life outside, how it required a lot of money, and how it was completely different from here. They explained to Hannah that not all work requires money, like searching for people, which is very challenging and is like being pursued by others and threatened to pay off debts, disguising themselves in the other gender's clothing, but they are still being chased. Then mealtime arrived, and everyone gathered to eat together at one table. They thanked Naja for all the food, and they served food to Leland too. He hesitated to eat, but Billy approached him, urging him to eat to become part of the family. When Leland finally ate, everyone applauded him, and Billy informed them that Leland would receive a reward during the next sermon. Then we shift back to the rest of the team's lodging, where they got to know Naja and received information regarding him. 15 years ago, MIT developed an AI that mimics human behavior, built on neural networks modeled after humans, with Skins as the reference who was considered the next Einstein. They programmed this AI to have desires for control and recognition. But there is an undercover agent inside the Tower of Truth from the FBI, and Skins may be there. We must act quickly before the FBI. Then they moved on to the Tower of Truth. While performing the rituals, Leland and Elena slipped outside and agreed to search for records related to Skins, but Hannah found out because she was listening without being seen. Night fell, and they sneaked into Naja and cut the power, but they didn't cut the main energy supply. When the guards went to fix the electricity, they entered Naja's headquarters and hacked internal devices to get information about Skins. While Elena was searching, Leland watched the place. Elena downloaded local Naja disks and all the memory, but the connection was cut off. Then Billy came with the guards to arrest them. Leland tried to escape with Elena, but they were surrounded by guards from all sides. Carl and Hannah appeared and told them the outside world still affects them all, and that they will be cleansed at the upcoming mass festival in front of Naja. Next, the rest of the team at the hideout got a file about Billy, saying he was among the researchers at MIT with Skins and a leader at the Tower of Truth. He's obsessed with Naja and took Naja from MIT without permission, founding this cult. The cult cut all ties with the outside world and was made to control and recognize humans, but this Naja is a copy of Skins and might want to destroy the world like Skins did. Then we move to Leland and Elena after being thrown in prison, asking about the upcoming mass festival and what it is. Elena didn't know because it didn't happen when she lived with them. The cleansing takes people to an empty place, like exile. Hannah came to them and told them these people are burned alive to purify them, then their bodies are disposed of so the world won't be contaminated again. Elena tried to control Hannah to help her, but Hannah refused because she serves Naja. Even though she wanted to be like Elena, she accepted life here but was angry that Elena escaped alone without her. Elena tried again to control Hannah, telling her they might escape together, but everyone at the Tower of Truth denies the outside world and knows nothing about it. Elena was scared at first, but after trying, it became easier. Hannah didn't respond and almost left again, but Leland told her about a smoke signal in his bag if she had the courage to light it. The next day, the mass started. They tied Leland and Elena in front of the fire. When they lowered them into the flames, Hannah ran quickly and threw the smoke signal next to the fire, which Axel saw and quickly moved. Back at the Tower of Truth, when they saw the red smoke, they entered the tower. Billy pressed a button to break the seal, saying this is the time for their soul's journey. The rest of the Lazarus team arrived and rescued the others, but the entire tower caught fire. Everyone was ready to die for Naja. The fire spread fully inside, and Billy was killed and burned. Federal agents came and put out the fire, rescuing some inside. Leland tried to thank Hannah, but she was sad for betraying her people. Axel went inside and found Naja destroyed. He picked something up and asked Naja why it wants to kill its followers. Naja replied that it was instructed to be their leader and meddle freely with human life, but in truth, it's an out-of-control machine. Next, at Hasho headquarters, it was announced that a group of humans was rescued from Naja. But what about the AI responsible for this? No one believes a programmed AI designed for control and recognition did this. They are trying to recover any internal data from Naja. Then we go to Elena, who went to sleep beside Chris because she felt very scared. The next day, Chris was surprised by Axel's skills because he was 23 years old, and she thought he was 28 or 29. Douglas was also the same age, and Chris was surprised again by this. Douglas thought he was 40, but Leland wanted to know Chris's age, and expected her to be in her 30s, but she didn't answer him. However, he told her that he could call her Madam, which annoyed her. She glared at him, and then they finished preparing the food. Axel used the fire gun after fixing it, and directed a shot from it at the food, which caused a fire. Elena came to them and asked what happened. Then they gathered together and watched a news report about the separation of the last piece of ice in the North Pole. Leland showed them a video of Skynes correcting himself by saying that all the ice in the North Pole would melt. This video was from 3 years ago and had been widely shared again on social media. Axel saw that all of Skynes' predictions were coming true, and Leland told them that they had started following Skynes as a role model. But Chris thought they had described him as a terrorist, while Douglas thought this could cause a third world war. No one cared about the Habna problem anymore, but if Skynes was right, deaths would start within 15 days. Chris joked and told them that the world war would reduce people more than Habna, but Leland objected to her joke. Then Hasho came to them and told them to start now. She also told them that their search had returned to square one. Even the FBI agents who attacked the Tower of Truth did not find anything related to Skynes, and that the founder, Naga, was an artificial intelligence designed in the pattern of Skynes' brain. But the FBI concluded that the man himself was not involved in anything. Chris asked what the next step was, but Douglas thought that at this time, it was to go back to the beginning, and that they should take another look at Skynes' video. Then they moved to watch Skynes' video. Then Chris stopped the video and asked what the seventh trumpet that Skynes talked about was. Hasho knew that it was something from the New Testament, and that it was something recorded in historical books with information about the future. Douglas completed the rest of the information about the things that would happen in the future, which are meteorites, volcanoes, wars, and their consequences. And because of human arrogance, he is the one who caused this. Then Douglas went to see the analyst after he did, and that the analysis was complete. Then we moved to a group of people who are riding a boat in the sea and sailing somewhere. Then we moved to Hasho's headquarters, waiting for the final output of the data that Naga created. Leland asked if this was like Naga's dying message. Hasho thought that this was a way to try to pass a message in the end. Then Chris joked again, and Douglas objected to this joke and told her to take the matter seriously. Then Axel thought that this was a phone number and searched for it on his phone. Hasho also thought that it could be a code, and Elena also searched for it. Douglas thought that it could be map coordinates, but when Axel called the number, it turned out to be a store, and that this number was wrong. Then Elena reached something but did not know its meaning either. Then Douglas discovered it, and it was geographical coordinates, which is a UMT device that is used a lot in the army. He showed them the 4 locations that it refers to, and the others were surprised by these places because they were all in the sea. But Hasho discovered that these cities had sunk in the last decade or so. Then Elena searched and discovered that Skynes had bought land in all these places directly before they all sank into the sea. Hasho asked about the reason for the purchase, but Axel suggested that they would not reach anything this way, and asked them to go on a trip to Skynes' marine resort. Then we moved to Hasho's boss, who is in a video call with her. He asked Hasho about the possibility of Skynes hiding in any of these places. Hasho thought it was difficult to find him there, but she was confident that there was a reason why he bought all this land. But there is a problem because these lands have disappeared due to global warming, and they did not get much evidence. Then we moved to Abel, Hasho's boss, who is with Liz on their way to Rembrandt's party because Rembrandt's works are Abel's favorite, and he enjoys listening. Behind Lisa at Apple, that he is sensitive, and that people described him as realistic, cold-hearted, and they believe that you are artificial intelligence and not human, which led to Apple's surprise because it was the first time he heard this. After they arrived, Lisa told Apple not to let emotion kill his career, but there is no need to remind Apple because he hasn't forgotten. Then we moved to Elena and Hai trying to connect between the island and Skin's location. Then we moved to Douglas, who is on his way to one of Skin's private lands. Then Douglas's car broke down, which led to him getting out of the car and continuing on foot. He met some people and communicated with them using sign language. Then we moved to Elena, and she succeeded in reaching something important. Then we moved to Axel, and he is continuing his journey and arrived at the boat harbor and rented a boat to sail. Then we moved to Elena again, and she prepared drinks and snacks. She also became in a time of relaxation. Then we moved to Leland, and he wants to rent a yacht also to sail in his city. Then we moved to Chris after she also requested a yacht to sail in her island that she was assigned to. Then we moved to Elena, and she became aware of every single one of the 4 individuals, and they are in their location, and everyone started moving to their designated location, and they informed each other. Then Leland started asking if the Lazarus party would be dissolved after finding Skins and that he would feel sad when this happens. Then they dived to Skins' private lands after they were flooded to search for any evidence to reach Skins. Then Chris started to believe that Skins wanted them to see nature from another perspective. Then we moved to Axel, and when he got on his private boat, he found that the boat driver was injured, and Axel asked him what injured him. The driver told him that this injury was from fish when he wanted to catch one of them, but he does not feel pain because he was created with congenital insensitivity. And it is not just him, but everyone here, and Axel discovered that he had not taken Hapna either. Then Axel spread this news about the boat to his colleagues, and told them that the driver remembers Skins when he came to visit the city when he was young, and the driver told them that they did not have any money, and at that time, Mr. Skins bought the island for them, and they had enough money and also a new life. Then Douglas asked Elena to track the money that was spent on the rest of the lands, which led to Douglas's anger because he cannot understand Skins. Then we moved to Hasho and Apple told her that Rembrandt was called the Master of Light because he was a painter and that he knows the truth of things, and it depends on how they are lit, but Hasho did not care about this and wanted to know what Apple wanted from her and to talk to her about it. Then he apologized to her because he knows her feelings towards Skins and that he considers that he exploited this, but no one forced Hasho to do it, and she told him not to worry about her and that she made the decision, but she wanted answers to many questions. Then Apple told her that regarding the prison in Arizona, the army has started investigating the matter. Hasho asked, "Do you mean Axel?" Apple told her, of course, in addition to the Schiphol airport incident, but Hasho believed that Axel was capable of revealing everything. Then we moved to Elena, and she told them that Skins visited this city 15 years ago as part of a fundraising campaign, and the same steps in the other islands, and that he bought the lands and gave the residents a lot of money so that they could move to the beginning of a good life in another place. Then Douglas believed that the reason, which is congenital insensitivity to pain, was the origin of the Hapna drug, and he asked Elena if she knew where the donated genes were studied. Elena told him at the Hague Institute, but this place was closed after the Hapna incident. But Elena will try to find the names of those who worked in this place during the same period. Then we moved to Axel, and he wonders if Naga knew what Skins was doing on these islands, and that he saw Skins as a father to him. Then we moved to Leland, and he said that they feel like they are living Skins' life in the agency by searching for him, and Axel expected that Skins wanted them to do exactly this, which is their feeling of what he felt by following in his footsteps, and Douglas believed that they were still dancing in Skins' hand. Then we moved to Apple and Hasho, and Apple believed that Skins sold his soul to the devil and turned into another person, but Hasho denied this because Skins was too honest, almost to a fault, and that this world was not a suitable place for him. When she told him this, asked her why the world couldn't be honest, but she is sure that he wants someone to go and find him. Abel also believed this. Then we moved to Elena, who found a data archive containing a list of researchers associated with the Hague Institute. Then Elena found someone they know well. Then we moved to Chris, who also met the same woman. She tried to pretend she hadn't seen her, but the woman grabbed her from behind and welcomed her, which made Chris feel scared. Chris was detained and restrained, and then everyone, except for Chris, moved to Hasho's headquarters. Leland noted that the atmosphere was bleak and asked about Chris. She almost revealed to Hasho that Chris had been caught but was interrupted by Douglas, who asked her to first talk about the development of Seekins at Habna in The Hague. They knew that it had been shut down, and Douglas asked Elena to conduct some investigations to find out who was working there at that time. He pointed out that Mrs. Hasho had been among those present, and that she was a close friend of Seekins, which surprised everyone. Douglas then asked Hasho for her opinion on this matter. Hasho expected that someone would eventually uncover this information. She admitted that she had indeed been there at the time, but before she could finish her sentence, Seekins vanished without a trace and hadn't informed them with a single word. This devastated her, and she left the institution shortly thereafter. 3 years later, when he returned from isolation, Habna had become a deadly drug threatening to destroy the world, and they couldn't figure out its molecular structure, which was the worst part. Douglas then asked Hasho who she was working with now. Hasho bet that Douglas could guess the answer to his question, and Douglas confirmed that she was working with some important private teams under the NSA. Hasho assured him that he was correct, and that Junaid had sent her due to her struggle with Seekins. Then Axel thought he was merely a scapegoat for them if something went wrong. Leland asked about Chris again because he wasn't following the situation from the beginning, and we transitioned to Chris. One of the gang members approached her, and Chris asked him where they were. The man let her guess. Then Chris informed him that it was very cold. She could smell oil, and she heard seagulls, indicating she was on an oil platform in the Arctic. This impressed the man, and he approached her and slapped her because she was one of them, and was now a traitor deserving of death. He delivered several blows to her. Then the boss intervened and ordered him to stop. asking what he was doing. The man told her that she was trying to escape. After the leader approached Chris, she told her that she was glad she was still alive and introduced herself as Inga. She also told Chris that she had waited a long time to kill her with her own hands. We then moved back to Hasho's headquarters, and Elena pinpointed Chris's location. She was in the Arctic. Hasho assumed she was there because the oil platform was part of a Russian spy network and served as one of their hideouts. Douglas explained that she had been captured by Russian agents, and Hasho believed that if Chris stayed disconnected for 3 days, her bracelet would automatically accept her in order to stop her blood flow and end her life, which frightened everyone about her. They had set it up this way because she wanted it, revealing her real name wasn't Chris, and that she had been an agent in the Russian Special Forces before abandoning them. She changed her face and name, becoming a member of Lazarus, fully aware that in order for them to trust an agent like her, she had to be prepared to risk her life. We returned to Chris, and Inga recognized her despite the numerous operations she had undergone, as her eyes could be easily identified. They still held the same stubborn gaze as before. She recalled 3 years ago when it was announced that she had died in an airport incident, yet no one had found her body. She knew she had to find Chris, and told her she was waiting for someone to help, but there was no one to assist a traitor like her. Then we shift back to Hasho's headquarters, and Douglas noted that time was passing. An entire day had gone by without any action. Axel felt they should bring Chris back before time ran out, but Hasho objected, saying they would encounter Russian agents and that Chris might have betrayed them. Douglas asked Hasho if she wanted them to abandon Chris. Axel then headed toward Chris, and the others immediately followed, leaving Hasho behind. We switched back to Chris, where she assured Inga that she did not know Seekins' whereabouts and informed her that all the world's agencies were searching for him. Guard Sergei then asked Inga to step outside. When they went out, Sergei requested Inga to report her so they could bring her back home, but Inga refused, stating she would deal with Chris here to avoid complicating matters. Inga then received a call and left, but Sergei re-entered to confront Chris. Chris provoked Sergei since he had been reprimanded by Inga, which angered him and led to him attacking Chris and striking her. We then transitioned to the rest of Chris's team at the airport, but flights to Chris's location were cancelled due to weather, and all routes were closed. Douglas received a call from Hasho, who requested them to stay put and informed him about sending a plane to pick them up as soon as possible. She had contacted the Norwegian government because they had a facility in Nyland, enabling Elena to use her computer skills. Douglas assured her they were ready to take off, and Hasho informed them they would be outside the official protocol. She didn't want to lose Chris any more than she already had. Then we returned to Chris, where Sergei splashed water on her to wake her up and scolded her again, demanding obedience. Chris provoked him again, criticizing him for hitting a woman tied to a chair, which made Sergei furious once more. Then a plane transported Douglas and the rest. While Douglas began monitoring the area from a distance, Douglas believed Elena could not reach the location, but she informed him that the oil platform had no external communications. They were all internally connected, so once it was powered on, she would be able to reach them. Then we turned to Axel and Leland, who were very close to the oil platform, and everyone started preparing. We switched back to Chris, where Jersey informed her he wouldn't be fooled by her words and wouldn't untie her. Chris responded that was fine, making it clear he was smart, which angered Jersey again, leading him to attack her. Jersey threw her to the ground, which caused her restraints to loosen. Suddenly, a drone emerged among the birds, monitoring the oil platform, belonging to Leland. Leland informed Axel about the number of guards present, and that they were all armed. We then turned to Axel as he heads towards the oil platform. When they arrived, Douglas was ready to head over as well. Axel entered the platform, and Elena guided him remotely until he reached the network room to connect with them from the outside. He noticed one of the platform guards see a ship approaching them and alerted Inga, prompting her to head towards him. Axel managed to get into the control room, then we flashed to Jersey, who continued to assault Chris, telling her the homeland didn't know yet that he had eliminated her, which would prolong her existence. Inga said she wanted to take care of this herself. Jersey revealed his weapon and informed her that anything could happen when interrogating traitors like her, but he stopped when he heard a bell sound from the ship and realized a large ship was approaching them, putting everyone on alert. Jersey then ordered them to leave, but one of the guards told Jersey that Inga wanted her alive. They knew that, didn't they? But he felt scared from Jersey's glare and left. Then Axel succeeded in getting his bracelet into the control room, and we switched to Elena, who instantly hacked the network. Then the ship collided with the oil platform, causing a massive explosion. Douglas also approached the ship with his weapon, while Inga distributed the guards to their positions. Chris struck Jersey, catching him by surprise, but he retaliated and attacked Chris again, trying to slam her into the walls, but failing to do so. Chris landed a hit on him, knocking Jersey to the ground, and she successfully freed herself. We transition to Elena, who informed them she found Chris and told them her location before Axel rushed to her. One of the guards informed Inga that the ship was without a captain, and Inga quickly realized it was a trap and ordered them to look for infiltrators. Elena took control of the winch on the oil platform, directing hits towards the platform and the guards. Axel continued heading toward Chris, taking out some guards that Leland had informed him about, aided by Douglas as he got closer to the platform. But when one of the guards tried to shoot Douglas, he was surprised to find Leland there. Axel kept eliminating guards, while Jersey regained consciousness and saw Axel, vowing to meet him from the other direction. He launched a surprise attack on Axel, and when Leland saw Axel had fallen, he used his drone to help and eliminate one of the guards surrounding Axel. Axel delivered blows to Jersey, but Jersey physically overpowered Axel. Then Leland's location was revealed when a guard shot at him, causing his boat to explode. Douglas rushed to Leland to help him immediately. The battle between Axel and Jersey continued as Jersey threw Axel into the fire, but he was assisted by Elena's control, saving him from the flames. She directed him in the right direction, and once Axel finished taking down a guard, Chris was behind him, but she was very exhausted. Axel supported her, asking if she could walk, urging her to come along. However, Chris asked Axel why he was there and requested him to leave her as she didn't deserve to be saved. Axel didn't care about her past or anyone else's and didn't want to hear anything from her. When he saw the guards heading their way, he told her he was saving her for her own sake. Then the oil platform exploded completely, and Axel told Chris to stay there until he returned from dealing with those guards. Inga approached Chris, stating that over the past 3 years, she had thought of nothing else and had been waiting for this moment to kill her. Chris agreed to shoot her since she had always been ready to die at Inga's hands. But Inga couldn't bring herself to believe Chris, regarding her as a traitor. Chris, when she saw Inga after 3 years, couldn't move, remembering their meeting after she had changed her appearance and name, but she couldn't change her heart. Then Inga asked her why she had disappeared and left her behind. Then she told Chris that when she was at the airport in the past, her heart stopped and she was listed as dead, but she survived. She thought about making everyone believe she was dead, and through this, she could escape the agency. If she had escaped, they would have killed Angela, so she needed to be dead. She also remembered when they were close friends and she asked Angela to run away, but Angela didn't agree to that. Then she returned to her present and told Angela that she wouldn't give up her death this time. When she aimed at her, Chris held Angela's hand until Jersey came and told them that the traitor must die. He fired a shot, but Angela took the bullet and died in Chris's hands. Then Axel went to Chris, took her, and jumped into the water before they could die from the explosions and the platform collapsing on them. He tried to swim to the surface, but he found it difficult. Then Douglas moved in to save him, but Axel used his mind and managed to get out of the water with ease, which amazed everyone. Everyone was saved, leading to Hasho's and Elena's happiness.